No, like yesterday and today were incredibly competitive practices, which is the way you get better. And it does a couple things. It shows me that these guys are still completely motivated to continue to try to reach their potential, and they're excited about playing again. And you kind of expect that out of this age group. I think sometimes we tend to forget that they're still young people developing, and you know, they're, in some sense, some of them are still kids, you know, and we're still teaching them and they're still learning. But when they're anxious to learn and they're anxious to compete, it makes it fun to coach, regardless of the record list. So we're excited about the challenge we have on Thursday night in Boulder at Folsom Field, a place that when I was a little boy, I used to run around. From 6 to 12, my dad coached there. I know that place intimately. Love playing there, and you know, we're going there to compete as hard as we can, and our goal obviously is to win, and our guys are excited about the opportunity. Colorado has had a great year. They're doing tremendous things offensively and defensively. They're very balanced, so it's going to be tough. It's a night game, Thursday night. They'll have their student body there. It'll be crowded. They're excited about their program, but you know, I think we'll rise up and play well. So that's.
So you were 6 to 12 when you were living there? Ages 6 to 12?
Yeah, 6 to 11 or 12. My dad spent 6 years at University of Colorado and then came to UCLA for a year before we went up to Washington. So yeah, I used to run around that field. I was there for a lot of games, so run around that practice field, I know it real well. Yeah.
You felt like
that's where I got my start in college football.
Started young.
Yeah, actually we were at Stanford before that. So my family's hit Stanford, Colorado, UCLA, Washington. We've done pretty well in the Pac-12, Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12. Yeah.
Have you felt a renewed energy at all with the bye week with the guys?
Yeah, but you know what? Here's what's our team. If you've been around it, and you haven't had the good fortune of being around it, but they come out here with a lot of energy. They're resilient. You know, win or lose, there's energy. But yes, there's been a little spike. There's been a little spike, and like I said, that's fun to be around. You know, they want to get better. They're able to kind of put the past behind and move on to the next challenge. So
is that unique to this year's team?
No, that's what I've found to kind of be the case here since I've been here. And I'm probably, you know, I don't know what other colleges are like, and I can't remember back when I was in college if that's what we were like. We were pretty damn good, but I know that's what this group's like. You know, so it's exciting.
We talked about kind of Colorado's resurgent season. It seems like they have a lot of experienced guys on both sides of the field. How valuable can that be, just having that many experienced guys, returning starters?
Very. Like I think about the 7 underclassmen last year. Can you imagine what it would be like if you had Caleb, Miles, Alex, Kenny Clark? There's 4. I think there's a couple. Is there a couple others?
Lineman, right?
Duarte. Paul Perkins. You know, so, you know, our guys, unfortunately for us right now, unfortunately for them, they moved on to the NFL, you know, so, you know, sometimes you have to deal with that when you're having some success, you know, and you have good players, but it would sure be nice, you know, to have a bunch of seniors playing, but that's just not the case, and I think it certainly helps them, you know, the more they can play together in the same system, which they've been able to do, the better they're going to get, because they're talented young men. They're talented young men, and they're well-coached young men. I'm talking about Colorado.
When you obviously that was a huge number of guys to leave early. Do you prepare for that in recruiting? Like, how do you kind of account for that possibility as you're kind of setting how you're going to?
It's hard in recruiting because they haven't come in yet. You can, you know, once the guys get here and you see them for a year, you can start to maybe get a feel, but it's just hard to have anything definitive, you know, really until after the season, and it's a challenge. You know, it's not like basketball though. That's more challenging. So what you do every year is go out and you recruit the very best players and people for your program that you can get. You know, and you hope that they make the right decision when it comes time to make the right decision, so that they can have success. Because ultimately, what our goal is here at a university is to prepare these young people for the rest of their lives in whatever endeavor that may be. And if it's football, then we want to help them get to where they want to be.
When you lost that many offensive linemen, I remember last year you said you kind of shifted, saying we want to recruit more offensive linemen. Was that kind of what?
We have to.
Yeah.
You know what? And I've learned it. You know, every year you learn a little bit more. And you know, we've always. I mean, it's a cliche. You have to be able to, you know, dominate the line of scrimmage if you want to win a football game. And so, you know, with the uncertainty of your guys are going to leave early or not, it forces you to recruit more offensive linemen, more defensive linemen. You have to kind of stockpile those guys, you know, and then, you know, you factor in we've had some injuries, as other teams have had, at that position over the years, you know, so you get a little bit depleted at times. So we have to, I think we just have to oversign at that position, which means, you know, you only get so many scholarships each year, so you sometimes have to, you know, undersign at other spots. Right now, you know, we're recruiting offensive linemen hard. We want to build more and better depth. And, you know, unfortunately, you're going to miss on some guys. Unfortunately, you're going to hit on some guys that, you know, maybe you didn't know were going to be as good as they are. You know, Colton Miller's a great example. I mean, we all saw potential, but we didn't know he was going to turn into the type of player that he appeared that he was becoming before he got, you know, injured.
Have you shifted a different type of offensive lineman given the offense that you're running now, like more of a road grader type of guy?
I want a big football team, regardless if we're running a spread, a run and shoot, the wing tee, the wishbone, you know, the traditional, you know, what people call pro style. I want a big football team. I want the biggest linemen, the biggest receivers, the biggest tight ends, the biggest corners, the biggest linebackers, the biggest D-line, and the most athletic that you can find. So that's what we're after. Plus, you have to figure in other things, you know, character. You know, we get to know these kids to a certain extent. We want high character guys. We want young men we can count on that, you know, they're going to go to class and they're going to, you know, be positive members of the community, and they're going to take advantage of this amazing experience at UCLA. So there's so much that goes into it, but give me big, fast, strong, athletic, smart, I'll be happy. I guess you can't give them to me, we go get them.
Do you have a number for O-linemen you want this season?
We have position parameters for every position. You know, variables that have indicated through research, you know, where you find the most success. So you have position parameters in terms of height, weight, speed, agility, bend, different types of things at every single position. It's easier to do that at the NFL level because you're dealing with a more mature athlete. At this level, they're still developing. You know, when you start recruiting a 15-year-old, you're not quite sure what he's going to be when he's 18, 19, 20. You're really very unsure. So it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah, you do have position parameters that we're looking for. And then you have characteristics, you know, character traits you're looking for. Both football character and off-the-field character. So, you know, you're trying to always do your best to match those things up. There also are times, though, that there's a guy that doesn't fit in your position parameters, but he's so exceptional. He is the exception that you go get him. The problem is if you start making everybody an exception, all of a sudden you have a really little team, or a really big fast, or a really big slow team, or you're just not very good. So.
The research you mentioned, is that stuff that you guys have conducted here, or is it kind of you can
here where we've been? You know, over the years, you know, it's like I said, it's harder here in the NFL. NFL draft rooms have particulars that are unbelievable. Like I can tell you this without hesitation. One of the reasons that Caleb Benenoch dropped with a team, and I'm not going to mention the team, is because the circumference of his knee did not meet their standards. So they are measuring his knee circumference. And they found that his knee, this is one team, not all 32, one team, they said, Caleb's knee is not thick enough, the circumference. He's off our draft board. It's that particular in the NFL. We can't afford to be that particular because we're dealing with, you
That's
know,
wild.
offered a freshman. Can I say that legally? Said I can't tell you who.
Sure.
Offered a freshman the other day. That's a 14 or 15-year-old, and you're trying to predict what he's going to be when he's, you know, 18 or 19. It's hard.
You didn't measure his knee?
I did not. I measured his wrist. No.
I mean,
Not creepy
No, I
at all.
can't talk to him. No, I know. Some of that stuff's weird.
that's obviously very specific, the knee thing. Do you buy into stuff like that?
I don't know if I buy into the knee. I buy into hand size,
For what
arm
positions?
length. Huh?
For what positions for him set?
Quarterbacks, receivers, defensive backs. I look at arm length. Offensive linemen, you look at arm length. Defensive linemen, you look at arm length. I mean, there's so many things. You can't. It's so specific. Like when you go to the combine, it's so incredibly specific. And what's amazing, you go to the combine and they'll run all these tests, all these measurements, and they'll come out for pro day, and they'll do them all again. Oh my God, this guy grew a quarter of an inch. You're like, you know, in 3 weeks he didn't grow a quarter of an inch. You know, something's wrong. But it's interesting.
I've read in the past about people doing like hand stretching exercises for that
Sure.
specific reason.
Absolutely. because I'm not kidding you now. There are teams that are so specific that, let's say your hand size from here to here is 10 1/4, and you're a receiver or whatever. Let's just pick any position. But they say, hey, look, our cutoff's 10 1/2. And we're not going to take a guy that's 10 1/4, but we'll take 10 1/2. We'll take 10 1/4 if he's just exceptional in some other area. So I'm going to try to find that 1/4 inch, you know? So it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's insane. The thing about Caleb, it's an absolute fact. There's a team that took him off their draft board because of the circumference of his knee.
So what are they saying that is indicating the circumference of his knee? How's that?
They have found through their years of research that the offensive linemen that they've brought in that have a knee circumference of less than, I believe it was 16 inches, don't have success. There's teams that won't draft. There's teams.
Research there.
There's teams that won't draft corners under 5'8" or over 6'2". You know, if you're 6'2 1/4, ooh. Now if you're 6'2", we'll draft it with 6'2 1/4. We got to really think about this. It seems a little bizarre. Well, it is, but it's, you know, they have that opportunity to do that. They can be very selective. Anyway,
all right.
So we just did a draft. We just did a little draft education there.
Was Josh out today?
Josh Rosen. He was out here practicing. Josh Rosen, he's not out here anymore. No.
That's
Who would be
Josh Woods is out here.
yeah? Who has been getting number 2 quarterback reps?
You know, I'm not gonna
I had
answer
to
that.
try.
I know, but you didn't even phrase it well.
I know, because I knew I was going to get shot down anyway. So why should I make that bigger
The
an effort?
backup has. The guy who'd be the backup if Josh couldn't play.
Okay, what have you liked from the backup quarterbacks in practice?
I like that they look good in those.
Individually,
gold
like, which did you like about each?
I like that. Well, we know that they're freshmen, so I like the fact that they've come along pretty darn well and they're playing with a lot more confidence, which would be Devon and they're doing a good job for us.
What have you thought of Nate BSA so far? He's coming off his career high in catches and touchdowns.
You know what, the thing that people haven't noticed, because he is making catches, he's become more physical at the point, doing protection in the run game. And obviously, you know, we don't see much results in the run game right now, but he's just consistent with everything. He's running the right routes. He's catching the ball consistently, you know, and he bats it back to himself. So he's just playing at a higher level. He's more focused. You know, I think that he's had some success, and that's inspired him to, you know, pick things up even in practice. So I've been impressed with him.
I think at the beginning of the season, I think maybe after Texas A&M, you said that you were going to give Caleb some more looks, and maybe Nate would take a second or back seat. What kind of made Nate kind of jump back?
Just his performance. You know, because we have worked Caleb. Caleb has done some good things for us too. But Nate, at this point in his career, in his development, has more body mass to him than Caleb does. You know, Caleb's still a little bit slim through the legs and the hips, and Nate's a little bit thicker, so he's got a little bit more versatility right now than Caleb. But Caleb's making a lot of progress, and I think by next year, after a whole off season in our strength and conditioning program, he'll be a lot better in the run game. So. Okay, you guys have a good afternoon.